Why would literally anyone other than the government and the school system pay for educational resources and tools necessary for children to learn? That's why we have a damn literacy crisis.
I know teachers have a lot to do, and like, am I wrong for being mad about this? Because I'm super annoyed. I spent $100 per kid getting school supply stuff because I fulfilled the list of things that they said that they had to have, which for my son was fucking front and back. For my daughter, it was almost a full page, $100 per kid, right? Turns out their teachers have individual lists of school supplies that they hand out, and that's only about this big. It's about maybe $30 worth of stuff. I can't return anything that I already bought for my children because everything had to be like labeled and stuff like that. So everything was opened, labeled, written on, all that jazz for the first day of school, which was yesterday. So now I just went back to the store to spend another $35 per kid to get the actual supplies that they need. And they don't even, it would be less annoying if they actually needed some of the supplies from the original list, but they don't. Like, they ask for folders without prong holes. They need folders with prong holes. They need binders, not accordion.
With the whole school supply stuff, at least make sure your child has everything that they need. I'm tired of seeing all the teachers coming on here and trying to reason with the parents, myself included, and it's just falling on deaf ears. And I get it. You don't want to buy stuff for the class. Whatever. Guess what? I also grew up in a family where we didn't buy any of the extra stuff like Kleenex, paper towels. But guess what? At the same time, I brought all my own stuff. I always had my own pencils, colored pencils, markers, highlighters. I even brought my own little packs of Kleenex, wet wipes, and hand sanitizer. I never had to use any of the communal stuff in my classroom that my teacher provided. And I've seen a spectrum of different feelings on this topic where some parents are agreeing with what I'm saying, but then some parents are just flat out saying they're not buying school supplies. Like, period. Not for their kid, not for anyone. But how would that be fair? But that's the thing with the communal use, is that little Johnny is going to have 30 pencils in his book bag, and by the end of the week, they're all going to be gone. So then little Johnny is going to have to use the communal stuff that he and his family didn't contribute to. But as an educator, I want your child to be successful, so I'm still going to lend little Johnny a pencil. At the end of the day, we need parents backing us up rather than being against us. That's the end of my TED Talk.
Y'all sound like baby daddies with child support. I couldn't quite put my finger on this school supply conversation, and now it's registered. Y'all sound like baby daddies with child support. Y'all know how y'all be like, oh, he thinks I'm using his $40 to buy a wig. Oh, he thinks I'm using his $200 a month to go to Dubai. That's how y'all sound when y'all talking about these school supplies. All of you mothers saying, oh, they want us to buy extra supplies. They want us to supply the whole classroom. That's exactly what y'all sound like. Every parent got the same list. So the teacher is not asking you to supply the whole classroom. She's asking every parent to get a little bit extra for when things start to run out. How is that not clicking to y'all? Y'all are acting like baby daddies. Y'all acting like the teachers asked y'all for $500 so she could buy a Michael Kors bag. Please. She's asking y'all to get the school supplies. She's not asking y'all to donate money. Y'all acting like she's going to get the extra school supplies and then go sell them for double the price on the black market. Y'all sound just like a baby daddy. I'm tired of this conversation, and I know y'all are too, but I really need y'all to just think about what y'all saying when y'all saying this stuff. What that means, say, why are y'all saying this stuff?
People think pencils cost, that parents are out here complaining about having to get 48 pencils for their child to go to school. Because it's that time of year where parents are on the internet complaining about having to get the child that they decided to have school supplies. They complain about the craziest things. It's like, oh my God, they need 48 pencils, 6 glue sticks. These kids are in school for 10 months. Do you know how fast kids go through pencils, let alone a glue stick? And the problem is, it's never people who cannot genuinely afford it financially. Because in my experience, those are the people who always figure out a way to make it work. And also in my experience as a teacher, I never have issues with kids or families who are like, hey, I genuinely cannot make that happen. Okay, I've got extra supplies. I'll cover it for you. But to see people complaining about having to buy 48 pencils, are you kidding me? I'm pretty sure you could get 48 pencils from Staples for $2. I just don't understand why this is such a big topic of conversation every single year. Either buy your kids supplies or don't. Why do you have to come on the internet and complain about the fact that your children need pencils in school? And before any of you say, well, school should be supplying it. Yeah, you know what? Okay, great. Then let's raise everybody's property taxes. You know what my bigger priority is? Let's provide free breakfast and lunch for these kids before we worry about making sure the parents don't have to buy 48 pencils. Anyway, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.
So imagine it's your first day of school, you're so excited, and the teacher is telling you purple folders for reading, green is for math, get your crayons, put them in the basket, here's your pencil box, let's write your name on it, put it in the desk, and you have nothing on your desk. You have nothing to contribute to community supply, you have nothing to call your own, and the teacher tells you, well, don't worry, I'll get stuff for you after school, I'll find some stuff. As someone who spent 10 years in education, I can promise you this happens, and it's not just one kid in the class here and there every year, it's multiple kids, and in this economy, I can promise you it's going to be more and more common, and I know it seems like such a little problem and not that big of a deal, but for little people, that is the big deal. Their heart breaks, they're mortified in front of their peers over a box of crayons, over maybe $40 worth of school supply. And yes, these parents should do better. It's easy to judge from where we sit. It's easy to say, well, you shouldn't have kids. You have no idea what people's circumstances are. And yes, I will say there are parents who would come into my school and they would have nicer hair, nicer nails, nicer phone, drive a nicer car than me, but couldn't send their kids in with supply. But it's not the kids' fault. We talk about this village, but when the time calls, we don't want to be a part of it. Just help where is needed, buy the extra supplies.
One thing that doesn't sit right with me is teachers having to buy school supplies for their class. Like, I remember being little and going to Walmart, and they would have a big stand that would have like grade, teacher, and you would pick your grade and your teacher, and they'd have a list of like school supplies that the kids needed to buy, and it'd be like normal shit like notebooks, colored pencils, erasers, stuff like that. But nowadays the teachers are, and no hate, no shade, this is not the teacher's fault. Nowadays the teachers are having to make these like Amazon wish lists or Staples wish lists and send to people or post on social media and be like, hey, like, can you buy this stuff for my classroom? Why is it our responsibility? Why doesn't my tax money pay for that? Why would literally anyone other than the government and the school system pay for educational resources and tools necessary for children to learn? That's why we have a damn maybe I'm a victim of it. That's why we have a damn literacy crisis.
This entire conversation about parents complaining about having to buy supplies and having those supplies be shared in the classroom, I would say, is contributing to why a lot of teachers are leaving the profession. I myself was a teacher for about 2.5 years to 3 years in a very low resource school. And I would say that parents contributed to about 30% of the decision of me deciding to exit the profession, not even go to a new school, just exit the profession, period. And there's a lot of people on here saying, well, why don't the teachers just buy the supplies? As a first year teacher, I was making about $44,000 as a first year teacher. And I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had 3 roommates in order to make ends meet. And even then I still wasn't making ends meet, because by the time that money was taxed, I paid into my benefits and paid into my 401k. I was barely saving anything. On top of that, I was spending about hundreds of dollars of my own money buying supplies for my classroom because we just didn't have things. And if you've ever been in a classroom, kids go through stuff a lot. Sometimes I would just go through packs of pencils a day because students would just hold a pencil, forget to return it back, and walk out the classroom with the pencils. And if we want to have a larger conversation about how education is underfunded, that's a conversation I'm willing to engage in. But if you as a parent is coming on this app to complain about how little Johnny needs to share a box of Kleenex with 20 other kids in the classroom, you are a part of the problem, and I need you to be a part of the solution.
Do you buy supplies for your classroom? I'm kind of at a standstill with that right now because last year I had pencils and markers, but by March they were all broken or thrown away. And so this year I don't even know if I want to deal with that again. I also bought a whole 300 pack from Amazon of like regular number 2 pencils, and they were gone in a month. 300. So then I refused to buy any more and give them out to my students. Are we having the same problem everywhere, or what do you think I should do?
Oh, it's that time of year again when parents come on this app and say they don't want to buy the communal school supplies for their children because they just want to buy, and it's just for their kid. First of all, besides the basic understanding that if your kid needs 2 boxes of pencil for the entire year, and the only difference is that you're just getting the 2 boxes of pencils now and we're putting them in a bucket so that in the middle of a lesson we're not like, I'm out of pencils. But then please try to imagine getting through a math lesson and one of your 25, and that's like generous, one of your 25 students every 30 seconds is saying, I don't know where my pencil is, my pencil sharpened. So what we do do, I know this is just like unbelievable. What we do is we just put a whole little box of pencils at the front of the room or the back of the room or the side of the room, and we teach them that independence, that, hey, if we're in the middle of something and you look down and your pencil has broken and the 5 pencils you're supposed to keep in the pencil box are gone, because weird kids, right? They're not going to remember to always keep those pencils in the pencil box. If all of those are not, to the expectation or sharpness that of your own personal liking, or the eraser isn't as good as you want it to be, you can just quietly get up, even when Mrs. Rosenthal is talking, and you can go over and get that pencil. Okay, and then you can put your unsharpened pencil in the little bucket, and then somebody in the class has a little job once a week to sharpen all the pencils for all of them. And then even when we go over policies and procedures at a agonizingly slow pace, the first week of school, every early elementary school teacher, and probably late elementary school, I don't know, I don't teach it, you go through policies and procedures and expectations and kind of the rules and the flow of the classroom. And even though your gem of a child would never forget to put their cap back on their glue stick. So as teachers, your kids, you brought in the 2 boxes of pencil that your kids is going to need for the whole year, and we put it out so that that child can just get the pencils when they need to get the pencils. Because if not, we're never going to get through the math lesson. We're never going to get through it, because if there are 25 kids in a room, you can expect that every 33 seconds someone is going to need something. So we teach them to go get it from it.
There are so many perspectives on school supplies and who should purchase them. Should it be the parents? Should it be the school administration? Should it be the teachers themselves? You can see from these videos that there are many different ways to look at it. And some teachers are just thinking that, why can't the parents just go ahead and just buy for everybody? And so then the parents are thinking, but that's not my responsibility. So I'm curious on your thoughts, what you think about these videos and who's on the right side of the fence. I'll see you in the next video.